So what is going on, you guys? I'm Locker from csgoconsulting.com, back with another demo review, finally. In this video, it's going to be Spencer taking charge. And Spencer is a DMG player, but in this game he's playing on ESEA, North America. So Spencer asked me to disable the voice comms for this game, but to begin with, I just want to mention the importance of proper communication. So in this game I see Spencer talking a little bit too much. Much preferred if you were to give proper info only instead of just blabbering about on random topics non-related to the actual game, or for that matter even topics related to the game that don't really bring any value to your teammates. Those are the topics you should be avoiding. So keep the comms short, keep them clear, concise, and you're good to go. I'm just gonna be skipping through some parts of this game because I've already pre-watched it and found the more important parts. So starting off with the pistol round, Spencer finds himself peeking main due to his teammates already spotting the bomb over at B. Right, in this round is a bit what I'm talking about. He was just talking a lot, like I'm coming. Wasn't really bringing any value because you can see that on the map. So there's really no point in screaming in the microphone right here. But this is something he does pretty well, I think. He waits for his teammate and now they both begin together, causing a pretty good crossfire right there. Now let's skip to the fourth round. The other rounds were not really that essential, or they were essential, but there wasn't really much to learn from them, if we put it that way. So a flash to the smoke, they're not really necessary considering there were no cues that they were actually coming in. So you would normally want to save your nades to situations in which they can be more efficiently used. Right here, I don't really see why you're rotating B here. You already have two players on the site and only one player top mid, so the enemies could be coming over boost right now. Push mid quickly and up highway, or just isolate you with a smoke here. You're really out of position right here. They could also be popping out of main at any time. There is a smoke there, but still. Over here at B, they already have two players. Now let's speed up and see what you're doing. You're throwing down some Molotovs and other things, even though there are no signs that they're coming in. You're throwing your smoke too. At this point you should already be leaving B if you wanted to smoke for them. As we can see, the enemies are grouping up, going towards middle, or perhaps even... no, it's middle and A main, yes. So right now you decided to back off, which is a good thing. Staying over at B, even rotating there in the first place, I don't think is a very good decision. So right here you put yourself in a pretty okay position, at least. I would probably prefer you to stand a little further back because of the corner advantage that the enemies will have. If you're closer to the corner than they are peeking, they will see you before you see them. So based on that, if you were standing behind the red container instead, presuming that the Fizzy or another one of your teammates had highway covered, you would have a much better angle at the terrorists coming in right here. So let's see what happens. Managed to take him down, that's good crossfire. You get snapped. So this is what I mean. Back here. Same angle, but you're further away, so you'll see them before they cross. Now let's move to the 7th round, in which you are buying an AWP actually. Deciding to smoke first. Pardon the lags here. Pretty good angle for you to be, but your friends are already pushing mains. At this point you should be backing off, because since your friend is so far up, there's really no point in you holding this angle. You should be moving down highway, watching Squeaky, or even supporting your friend down at middle, or even pushing up main with your friend. But don't keep the passive angle if your team already has the more aggressive angles. Right here, this is something that I've noticed you do in both of these games, that you keep wallbanging this spot, which instantly gives your position away. So unless you're planning to leave this position and move over somewhere else, I wouldn't really advise you to shoot right here, most of the time anyway. So this is the round in which they are on an eco, because now that you've given it away, if they were to be stacking in Squeaky, ready to push up, they would instantly know to just overwhelm you right here, and you could maximum get one before you went down, if they played it correctly, of course. Right here, this is a very big mistake. You have a 5 versus 1 situation and you have an AWP, so you have everything to lose pretty much. Even if the enemy manages to kill you and then goes down, your teammates might not be able to recover the AWP, and thus you have wasted like 5,000 on an eco. Instead, now the worst thing that could have happened actually happens, and this AWP guy goes on to ace the round. Which is not entirely your fault, but please make sure to stay back and don't get too greedy chasing these eco frags. So, right here you're put on an eco, so that's why this was such a crucial round for you. Now you got money fucked. I also noticed you usually playing this position. If your friend's rushing up like that, it might be advisable to go up there and support him. However, if you're alone, you want to try something puggy like this, then sure, why not? Go for it. You don't really have any proper teamwork with your team anyway, seeing as it is a pug and not a proper team game, in which you might have wanted to do something more flashy. Or thought out, I should say. So right now you're pretty much gambling that it's B or middle. This is the bad thing to do, considering the lack of equipment on your part. Okay, there you went down. Let's see which round we should be watching next. So right here you're playing glass cannon AWP, which is pretty risky. You do peek in here. The risky thing about this is that if he pre-aims your angle, you can easily get your crosshair shot up, you know. You can easily get that aim punch, which will not only get you stuck, but also risk you dying. So I'd probably play a little safer of an angle if I didn't have any support from my teammates. Right here we can see someone peeking in, and he fails with the shoulder peek, and you get him. Good job. At this point you're backing off to a much better, safer angle. Which is a good thing. And you do manage to get him down, so good job there on your part. Now moving on to the 15th round. Now you're actually playing B. You're doing the right thing, you're listening here, the enemies are shooting your friend. And okay, so right here you decide to stand back in a more passive angle when your friend is pushing up like this. So at this point it is still fine, the enemies might push the smoke and you don't know what your friend is doing, but as soon as you see that your friend is starting to move up here. You are not doing anything to help him, and you're not falling back either to help the players on the other parts of the map, but you're instead staying at the passive angle once again. And the enemies can't be here. He's cleared this, and they can't be vent because your friend's mid. That's because this guy is cold too, not because there are two people there. Okay, so at this point you gotta back off, you gotta go mid, gotta go A, or you gotta push with your friend through B and help trade his kill in case he dies. As you can see here, you're filling no function here essentially. At this point you realize this and go back, although this is a good decision because the bomb has not yet been confirmed. This is kind of risky though, running with the knife out. The enemies could already be walking in. Slowly but surely I would probably just go to the bomb site instead and play for time. Just peek every 3 to 5 seconds like I've talked about in another one of my videos, and try to buy as much time as possible for your rotations to come in. At this point the enemies are pushing A, going for the flank, but your friend seems to be having everything under control really. Indeed they did. Okay, so now it's time for the T side here. Nothing too exciting in the pistol round, so I'm gonna move up to the next one. Here we go, okay. So right here I see you running. You're running with your team, running with your knife out. This far is not the best thing to do considering your friends are taking the inner route here. They're going close to the wall, which means that their possibility of them getting killed by an angle like this is not as high as you, because you're taking the outer route here. They can see you and they can shoot you and they can back off before your friends have a chance to trade the kill. So I wouldn't be running with my knife out here. Always keep your P90 out when running like this. You jump in, getting flashed and you die. Okay, so what about the next round? Okay, so right here, you know that the enemies are on an eco. It could be 2-3 players pushing straight into mid. Instead, you decide to throw a flash down while looking down for an extended period of time. This isn't really the best thing to do. I would instead go for something like a flash like this, where you throw it on the wall here on the way. And if you really have to, I would stay here for a while, waiting for them to push in. Their angle, you take an off angle like this or something, where they can't easily kill you. And then as soon as you know that there is not a rush coming in, you might throw the flash, but not instantly like that. Okay, so at this point you're already pushing behind them. Also, there was another thing on this round. So when you're playing with an SMG like this, and when you're going in first, you're essentially temporarily taking up the role as the entry fragger. So what is the primary role of the entry fragger? It is to clear out all the close angles to make sure that there is not an enemy stuck behind you who could potentially flank you and kill you in the back, as well as to make sure that your team doesn't get shot in the side when they move up. Right now, since you're going in alone, the primary objective is to clear out these angles, making sure you don't get flanked yourself, and making sure these guys can't run in through mid main and kill your friends in the back. So what you do instead here is that you decide to throw the flashbang and you run straight up. You did not clear the angles. You haven't cleared that angle yet. This angle has barely been cleared, and that one I don't think has been cleared either. So right here you could have died several times already. So really do make sure that when you go in, you quickly snap 180 degrees. First you clear out one of them and then immediately snap to the other. Boom, boom. Just like that. Okay, now I see that your friend is actually coming up on boost. So in this case, he's got these angles covered. So all you have to do is to focus on the right ones. And making this a habit will really benefit you in the long run greatly, I should say. Here you throw a pretty good flashbang and you're running in. It's your friend's responsibility to watch the back at this point, but yeah, so here we go. Okay, next round, let's see what happens. As you can see, you're just running straight in. Right here, you're running in with the flashbangs. This is very risky stuff. They could already be up on sandbag, they could be right behind the white box peeking you. They could even be right and left, but most likely they're not. Most likely you've gotten there before them, but still. Here you just peek and you choke the kill. Okay, and then at this point I remember you screaming in the chat that you choked and stuff. And this isn't really an essential piece of information for your team, so please refrain from doing that. It will also help you focus more and think about what you could have done differently, as well as it will not distract your team. Round 6, same thing. You're pushing up way too far with flashes. Got your flash out, you're jumping. Only take your flash out when you're throwing it. Never run with the flash otherwise. And always peek and cross angles where the enemies can be with your rifle out. So right here it would be best for you, because they can still be staying in the MBK corner right there, in by the fence. So you should be holding that corner for like 3 seconds or so, just to make sure they're not doing the 3 to 5 second peek out and in, out and in. Because if they do that, they can catch your flash in the hand. Right here you're being... You should have died already. The name is missed though. Right here you're trying to save, but the enemy is coming squeaky. Too bad. Let's see, in this round you'll see another example of you throwing yourself in there as opposed to playing more thoughtfully, which is what you should be doing. And it's important to note that rushing and messing with the enemy timings, that's not the problem itself. The problem is that you're not carefully taking the spots they could be at into consideration. So right here, we see you rushing in. You're not really clearing out these top angles right here, the 90-degree angles. And I don't know if you watched the boost yet, but so think about playing more thoughtfully. The process that you can use is to, when you're pushing through main, for example, you would hold this angle for a little bit, hold that angle for a little bit before peeking out. But in case you are rushing, gotta have your team with you, and make sure that as an entry fragger check the closer angles, most importantly, because your friends can always come up and watch the long angles for you. At least that's what they should be doing. And if not, then it's their fault that you die pretty much if you get shot from far away. That's just basic rules. That can be good to keep in mind if you're going to play in a team later on. Right here, you're number 8. Okay. So this is a good way of peeking. Right here we saw you look at the white box for a few seconds before moving on to the next angle. Also keep in mind that there is another angle by white box right over there, where the corner is on this demo UI, if you can see it. I don't know if you can see it. Okay, so right there, you're throwing the flashbang there. I remember you screaming, "How is he not flashed?" In reality, he was pretty flashed, but the flash was going away pretty quickly and he could see you. Could see a little bit of you, at least. Yeah, let's move on to the next one. So right here, you just wall banging the smoke. You're giving your position away, which isn't the best thing to do if you're on eco, as the only way that you're gonna get him pretty much is if you manage to sneak up on him, shoot him in the side when he's overextending. So that's what you should be playing for. Play around the smoke, wait for him to try and push you, try to maybe sneak through it somehow and get an easy kill, but by shooting, he already knows you're there, and the chances of you actually managing to kill him are very low. Because you won't get a kill through the smoke with that pistol anyway. Same thing with the AWP on quad there on the CT side, giving your position away too easily. Minimizing your chances of hitting the right timing. Because there is an art of hitting the proper timing, you know, that unreal timing where everyone thinks you're cheating. That's what you're going to be striving for. And you need to be playing to let that happen. So right here, this is a big thing. As you can see, you're just throwing yourself out there again. You're exposing yourself to several angles at once. They could be, right now they could be forklifts, it could be on several places behind the forklift, it could be up on the balcony, also at any place right here. It could be to the left, it could be in the corner. And that's just now, so you're exposing yourself to all of these possible angles with your Molotov out. So instead what you should be doing is, right now you're going to die of course, but let's see. You should be opening this door, just picking this. This is all you need. Because if you throw your Molotov on this, it will bounce, it'll land here and it'll spread to behind the forklift. So you don't have to expose yourself to throw the forklift Molotov. And even if you're not throwing a Molotov, you should be picking that, then you should be picking, maybe shoulder picking this little angle. If that is smoked, you can only focus on picking the ladder. After that, you make sure to pick these angles slowly but surely, just like this, until you clear out the balcony. Because that's your job as a squeaky player. It's to clear out all the left angles so that your teammates can only walk up next to this smoke and focus on NBK and the quad angles. So right here, you're pretty much AFK. It looks like you've already given up at this point because you're jumping around with your knife out. The enemies could at any time have pushed Squeaky here and could have killed you pretty easily. You also have the bomb out, so that's not really a good place to be. Right now you're also holding a flashbang. They could be at any of these angles, but no. And so right here, you decide to open the door more carefully this time, which is a good thing, but let's see what you decide to do. So you're mollied out. And you run in and you die. Okay, so yeah, you could see the same thing there that I was talking about in the last round. Also, I'm not really sure why you decide to main the P90 there. Because if you're gonna play the way I'd prefer you to play, which is more of a support kind of role, since that's the easiest and the most effective role to play when playing pugs, because that will set you up to close out the rounds and make sure you deny any mistakes that the opponent makes, as well as cover up for your teammate mistakes, that kind of stuff. So it essentially is the only role where you don't really need your teammates back up, because you're kind of backing your teammates up instead. That's why I think you should be playing support, and if you're doing that, you're often going to be playing the long ranges. So in that case, a Galil would be a better choice. Because if you're going to go P90, then you really need to be playing the Enterfag role, which isn't really that fulfilling when playing in a pug, because you don't really know that your teammates have your back and that your teammates are going to be ready for the trade kill. Because oftentimes what will happen is you'll run in and your teammates will be too far back to actually trade the frag. So it's better if you're the one trading the frags. So right here, when doing a B rush like this, there's one important concept to keep in mind. That is that you're right here. You never, right now, that's not the reason why you're dying, because you're dying from some vent guy dropping down and shooting you in the back, but when you're in this area, you're super exposed. They could be shooting you from either side, heaven or CT, or from the side. So that's why you want to be doing like Lazy is doing here. He's running straight up to the wall and he's running to headshot, because that way he's not exposing himself to heaven simultaneously. So especially if there's a smoke down in CT, this is especially effective. because you don't have to expose yourself to that guy up there. When there are too many angles, you can only look at one at the same time, so you want to keep that as a habit too. Just pushing up headshot anytime you're going in B. Just clearing the sight, that should be smoked. Clearing the sight on your way to headshot and then just rushing headshot. Okay, so that's it for that demo. Let's move on to the second one. What is going on, guys? I'm back with the second demo, which is also Spencer's. And in this game he joined as a ringer on the 7th round, so that is why he is just coming. So starting off, I just want to emphasize the point that I already previously discussed, and that is, don't not get tilted or toxic towards your teammates, you know? It really leads to nowhere. And in this game, I notice you were especially hostile towards your friends, and I understand that with these randoms in pugs, they're not always gonna be nice, they're not always gonna be good and play properly. But there's really nothing you can do about it, right? You're searching solo, I assume, so you just gotta swallow the red pill and play. Just play with your best efforts and try to ignore them, try to do the best you can in the situation. You should be looking at it from a perspective that the default is actually that your teammates are gonna be stupid. And if at any time they're not, well, that's just a bonus. You should be able to play nonetheless and still keep your communication on point without disturbing your own game or your teammates' games for that matter. Now in this round, I believe we will see what we saw in the last demo, which is you throwing yourself out there. I'll leave methodically clearing the angles. If they were up on forklift or up on the balcony, they would have killed you by now. And right there you just decide to step out without holding the angles for at least a few seconds. Or you hadn't even really cleared them properly before that, I should say. So it would be wisest to just clear these angles, stand here for a little bit, and then throw the flash out and just pop out to the right. Don't think there's anything else to be said except for on this round in which you... Okay, so here I just noted that you were tilted and you screamed, which is not really necessary considering your team. You gotta take for granted that your teammates are kind of stupid, because after all, they're randoms, right? And it's just a bonus if they're better at any time. So just play in a way in which you put yourself in the position to secure as many rounds as possible, like I previously mentioned. And that's why I like to play support. So not putting the faith in your teammates' hands, and oftentimes your teammates don't know what you're doing, right? Okay, so right here they're doing the classic fake 4 men over on B and 1 player over on A with a bomb. And you fall for the bait. This is what you should never do. You should never leave the bomb site if the bomb has not been confirmed. Even though this guy sees like 4 players rushing him and shooting him in the head, you can't be sure that the bomb is going towards B. When you see it on the map or when they call the bomb, that's when you rotate. But before that, as the last man on the site, always make sure you stay and make sure they do not get the bomb plants, because that's all they want to get, right? This guy ends up planting the bomb, getting an extra 800 in the bank, which allows these guys to get a better buy with more utility. And let's move on to the next round. And this one, like I mentioned in the last demo, you're gonna start to wallbang the wall here, giving your position up, giving the enemy team, yeah, right there, as you can see, giving the enemy team a chance to neutralize your position with a smoke or something, or just to just roll out of squeaking like that, shooting you because they know exactly where you are. So unless you're shooting and then planning to back off, don't do that. Like, it's really not worth it. It's really not much to be said that we haven't already brought up about the other round, because you're ecoing a lot too. But in this one, this is a prime example of why cluttery comms are so bad. When you guys are just discussing random stuff and kind of bantering with each other. Not even bantering, you're kind of arguing, I'd say. That's when you do not hear this. As we can hear here on the demo. We can't even hear it because the demo doesn't allow us to hear sounds. Stepping sounds. At least not when I'm slowing you down. But yeah. When listening there, we could hear him because he was running up. And what is so important in that situation is that you do not get paralyzed. Because that's another point that I should be bringing up right now. Is that when faced with one of these pressure situations, you often tend to get paralyzed. So you just stand here looking towards one angle, trying not to be seen, when in reality you should be dynamically moving your crosshair between both of the angles, listening in. As soon as you hear them step towards you, that's probably a good time to just peek out slightly, because they'll have to stop themselves running forward, and they won't have time for that. They'll just be running and gunning, you know. They won't have the accuracy that you have when you're stepping out and immediately stopping yourself, shooting them in the head. That's why it is so important to just keep calm and think about the most logical way for them to be playing, and try to find a counter for that, because just like passively, statically holding an angle like this is usually not gonna get you the returns that you want. And also, being able to accurately estimate the timings and predict what they're gonna do next, that's a huge part in game sense. And that's how you can win and rank high without even having very good aim. So that's actually it for this game, guys. There wasn't really any more to be said about this one of the demos. So I hope you learned something from this, and let me just quickly summarize the main points of this game. So first off, talking too much, being too toxic, too tilted. That's really something you gotta lay off. You gotta just learn to ignore them, learn to see that this is the situation right now, and I'm gonna do the best I can with it. Okay, because you won't really be able to influence them, especially not if you're angry at them. Also, I think you should be working a bit on your crosshair placement, especially when snapping back and forth on different angles. You want to have it on head height, which you probably know, but that's something which will come automatically from practice, especially on deathmatch servers. Also, being able to snap quickly back and forth and accurately in head height will greatly help your chances when trying to entry frag, for instance. Also, checking angles more methodically, even on anti-eco, is really a huge part of improving. So just peeking slightly, just knowing the angles and pre-aiming them as you go. Making sure to clear them all out, or at least expect the enemies to be able to stand there, and thus wait a few seconds before moving on, because they might be just randomly peeking out, like I said, or they're playing the 3 to 5 second rule and just peeking out, and if you're holding their angle, there's a greater likelihood that you'll be able to get this kill. Oh, on that topic, by the way, you can even, if you believe that they're holding an angle like that, sort of right here, for example, or in the sandbags and playing the 3 to 5 second rule, if you just hold them from, say you're coming from T main and you're looking in this direction, you're standing and you're holding the white box angle right there. Oops. Let me just slowly move through this wall. Okay, so right here, say you're holding this and the enemy is playing 3 to 5 second rule. Once you've held it for a little bit, You might even want to throw a nade or throw something else and see if you can hear them. Also, if you're in a closer angle where they can actually hear you better, that's maybe the time to do a fake reload. So you can reload your gun and then you can quickly switch weapons back and forth, which will allow them to hear you reload, but you won't actually reload, so it will peek you and you might be able to get the kill. It's called trying to bait them out of their position. Okay, on to the next point. So it's really important that you don't freeze up in pressure situations on the CT side. There were several examples in these demos which I saw you do that, especially in the A sites. I didn't cover them all in this demo, but I saw them previously when I went through your demo. I noticed in one of the rounds you were sitting here in a 1 versus 1 and you were only looking at in one direction. This is an example of freezing and being paralyzed, really. Probably because of the pressure. Right here was another situation. So in this case, you want to instead keep calm. You want to think about what is the enemy going to do. You're not really going to win by sitting here, because not only are you giving him the corner advantage, he can see you easily, you can see your weapon pointing out and you can wallbang, but you're also kind of limiting yourself to one angle at a time. In this case, you want to move back and you want to be able to see the whole picture so you can flick shots more easily. Quickly snap back and forth. You might want to even try to play around the box or something. So, which brings me on to the last final point, which is to be more dynamic and sneaky by working on your game awareness and trying to turn your mind on during these pressure situations instead of being frozen. And this is also the key to the unreal timing, is to be able to accurately hear them and estimate where they are, being able to peek the right points at the right time, being able to only peek slight angles, to not overextend and peek the very widest angle, but just able to peek one at a time, making sure to not overexpose yourself. That's also the key to clutching, by the way, because you want to always limit them to 1 versus 1 engagements. So yes, that's pretty much it for this demo. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm going to also be making a video lesson where I go more in depth on one or more on these topics. Which one I haven't yet decided. I'll be talking to you after you watch this demo review. Also guys, if there's anyone else watching this who would like a similar demo review, feel free to just go to csgoconsulting.com. There you'll find packages which you can purchase your own demo review or your own custom made video lesson. That's it for this video guys. Make sure to stay tuned and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.